Hello, welcome back to the channel. Now, we are big fans of small sports cars here at Autocar, but there is a problem. They are under threat. They are in danger of extinction. They are in decline. The Ford Fiesta ST will go out of production. The Toyota GR86 is only available for the next couple of years. And then, where are you going to get your small fun car kicks? Well, we have an idea.
Why not try an off-road buggy instead? We have two of the best. This is Segway's Villain and it costs 18 grand in this spec. It also has a 1 litre 2-cylinder engine making 104 brake horsepower, and it has a belt-driven CVT with low and high ratios, switchable 4-wheel drive system and lockable differentials. There is a rangy double wishbone suspension set up at the front and at the rear, multi-link with big trailing arms. The ground clearance is an impressive 371mm. Segway, you might remember, made its name with that 2-wheeled personal transporter thing, but it now makes everything from quad bikes to robot mowers. Thanks to Marsh MX for the loan.
Okay, so we're going to start in the Segway Villain because it is the newer of the two machines. Now in the UK you get a few options if you buy one of these about what to do with it. If you're only ever going to use it on private land that no one else has access to, fill your boots, don't worry about it. If you want to register it as an agricultural vehicle, you can do. And then it needs number plates and it limits you to the location, about a kilometre and a half or whatever, near where it's registered, because it's to go from bit of farm to bit of farm. Alternatively, you can get, I think what's called a T registration for it, register it as a general use vehicle, and it gets taxed differently. It has to wear number plates, indicators, lights and so on, but you can drive it as you might drive your car. They are limited to 40 miles an hour on the road, unless, as this machine does, it has ABS, in which case they're limited to 60. You can just use it like your car, a 60 mile an hour top speed car. It's a bit more than that. Do so and you will find it's loud. So the engine has got a variable, it's got like a centrifugal clutch and then a belt for variable transmission CVT effectively. And they've both got that sort of thing. But what it does mean is once you've got a certain amount of throttle on, it just sits here at 7,000 revs, and a 2-cylinder 1000cc engine spinning over at 7,000 right behind you constantly is pretty noisy. This UTV, this buggy, feels quite stable on the road. I'll try the Polaris in a minute. But it rides beautifully, rides really well. Yeah, it's genuinely comfortable. What's not comfortable, of course, is the environment. Would you swap a sports car for one of these? Well, you'd have to pick your moments. I drove through snow last night, and it was about minus a degree and a half, and you've got to dress really appropriately for it. But it's a lot of fun. And the ride is really fire. And even though there's there's a lot of suspension travel, body control is really nice on the road, and you feel absolutely everything that's going on through what is fairly lightweight, medium weight, but quite responsive power steering, quite quick power steering. And it just sort of moves around, it's big balloon tyres that don't offer huge amounts of grip on tarmac. And that means it's fun at really low speeds. Really enjoyable, really enjoyable, I really like it. Now off-road is what they're designed for though, and if you have a lot of your own land, terrific, fill your boots. If you do not, you're allowed to use byways or green lanes, as we call them in the UK. Now theoretically they have a speed limit of 60 miles an hour. However, GLASS, which is the Green Lane Association, or the Trail Riders Fellowship for motorbikes, which I'm a member of, they say, well, you shouldn't really go 60 miles an hour. You've got to share this space with walkers, dog walkers, cyclists, and horse riders particularly. Horses can be pretty nervous things, so you should pull over, switch off the engine, and in fact do no more than sort of 15-20 miles an hour at the best of times. So if you want to really hoon, your options are to go to a bit of private land, or, as we have done, pay somebody for a bit of access for some hoonage. So we have come to Pendine Sands, home over the years of even of land speed records in the early days, and hired to us for the day so we can mess around with got a really nice balance, this car. So there is lean and quite a lot of it, but you just feel what's going on ever so easy. It's not like there's loads of feel through the steering, but somehow all the movements, it's a bit like an aerial nomad, all of the movements are very slow and well contained. There are various sort of drive modes. You can have a four-wheel drive with a limited slip diff at the front. This is kind of in a rear drive, limited slip rear mode. And everything happens really benignly, really beautifully. I think if you were unsensible, you could quite easily you could probably put one over on its roof if you weren't careful, if you were silly in the wrong place. But in conditions like this, it's an absolute hoot. They are always louder. I said to our photographer, is it a bit like a jet ski? Could some of these dog walkers who are in the middle distance look at you and go, what an absolute knobhead? And he said, yeah, there is that risk. So you've got to pick your place, and I would choose a slightly quieter one if I could. But it's such good fun, such good fun. Right, enough of this malarkey. Let's go and jump in the Polaris and see what that's like.
The Polaris RZR Trail S is a staple farm and fun side-by-side. In this specification in the UK, it costs 21 grand including tax. Our thanks to Patterson ATV for lending it to us. There is a familiar story to both of these buggies. The RZR has a 2-cylinder 1-litre engine in the back. This one makes 100 horsepower and it drives through a belt-driven continuously variable transmission, and it has low and high ratios plus 4-wheel drive. Switchable differential modes mean you can run open differentials in a turf mode, which is meant to not tear up nice posh lawns, or you can run with front and or rear differentials locked. It has double wishbones front and rear, weighs 600 kilos, can tow 682 kilos, and has a 318mm ground clearance. The Polaris is also a great fun road car with a lovely balance and soft and absorbent suspension which leaves the body really flat and the driver isolated from road imperfections. It steers smoothly, there's power assistance, but because the RZR is so light it steers really directly and accurately. Its shorter wheelbase than the Segway means it can feel a bit tiptoed, but conversely, agility is superb. If you're used to modern sports cars, the overall limit, perhaps obviously, is low, but there is great fun to be had and it's so predictable. It's also a bit quieter and more discreet than the Segway.
So there are a couple of different drive modes as there are in the Segway. You're supposed to stop before you do them. So it's got open diffs turf mode so it doesn't chew up any grass. Now that's the agricultural route showing through because you don't want it turning up anybody's lawn. Or there's a 2-wheel drive mode with a sort of locked rear diff. Now that is more like the Segway's sort of standard mode. So and then it becomes right. It could do with an aero screen or some kind of wind deflector. Woo! Oh, now it drifts beautifully. Oh man alive! Oh, that's really good. That's really nice. And it's nice in turf mode, but it will sort of go into, it'll go into a little 4-wheel drift. You know, it will sort of want to push on a bit into understeer as it gets over a certain speed. I mean, they've got 100 horsepower and they weigh 80 kilos and they've got very little grip. So, of course, they'll slide around very happily, very easily. They are a great laugh. A great laugh. Which do you prefer? Look, I'd want to be, I don't know, on a trail somewhere for a long time, for a week or two. This is not my area of expertise. Give me a Hyundai i10 and a Volkswagen up, and I'll tell you what, I'll do you a twin test in half an hour. But I've got a lot more time with these to get under their skin. A, you can have a lot of fun in both of them. B, when it's minus Sue outside, I think I'd rather have a Toyota GR86, thanks very much. But they are such a good laugh, such good fun. And if it came to it, I think I would have the Polaris of the two. There will be experts out there agreeing, there will be others shouting wildly, how can you possibly think so? But I think this is great fun. And if I had a bit more land of my own and a bit more spare cash, I'll tell you what, I'd have one of these every day of the week, and I think I'd have an absolute riot. So thank you for joining us for this, not really a twin test, proper twin test, just a celebration of some cool stuff. We're here on YouTube every week. You can find us over at autocar.co.uk. There's a podcast from your favourite podcast provider called My Week in Cars, and most significantly there is a magazine which is available on digital subscription or in print, as it has been every week since 1895. It's 128 years this year, and I reckon that is as long as I could happily spend drifting this car. See you next time.